beautiful people. Welcome back to Organizing an ADHD Brain, where the perfect place to start is right where you are. I'm your host, Megs Crawford. I'm a professional organizer, an ADHD coach, and a fellow work in progress. Because let's be honest, we're all work in progress. This season, season 3, we're talking about the messy middle. Not about the before, not about the after, but all of the stuff that comes in between. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of stuff that comes in between that perfect before and after picture. So let's jump right in.
Hey, beautiful people. Welcome back to Organizing ADHD Brain. I am so pumped to be bringing you this interview today. I talked to Eli, who is an AuDHD artist out of Copenhagen. I fell in love with her throughout this episode, and it's really fascinating to be talking about minimalism versus maximalism. One thing I've always started to strive for as I'm decluttering my life and I'm trying to get into a more organized peace of mind, I've thought about minimalism. And when I was looking at my kitchen the other day and explaining to my husband my thoughts and feelings, we've got this really cool backsplash behind the stove specifically. We thought about it very creatively as we put it together, but it doesn't have a ton of color. Very white, it's very basic. And while this appeals to the minimalist tendencies, and that might be what you're interested in, it just is not giving me what my eyes desire when I think about what I'm excited about in my life. And so talking to Eli about maximalism really got me excited and reminded me how much more color is now in my life now that I've accepted my ADHD diagnosis and the colors that I put on my body. Even the colors that I've added to my room. I've got a turquoise wall. I've got these moss decorative paintings that I put together with gold, and I redid my bathroom. My husband and I redid our closet. There's so much that I have changed accepting this diagnosis and letting go of all this clutter that was distracting me previously. So this, I feel like, is another aspect of organizing that you get to evolve to once you've decluttered enough to start to work on these projects where you don't have to worry about all the stuff in your life. And you get to elevate your life by putting time and effort into how you want to see your home and how you want to elevate your home in a way that really makes sense for you versus having all this stuff around waiting to see if you might need it eventually. Welcome back. I'm here with Eli all the way in Copenhagen. I'm so excited to have you here. You're already surrounded by so much beautiful color in the background, and that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. But tell us, who is Eli? Where are you from? What do you do? What are you passionate about? Forward, something about you. What do we need to know?
Oh my goodness, in a nutshell. So my name's Eli Trier. And I am a AuDHD, so I have autism as well as ADHD, a neuroqueer artist from England originally. I've been in Copenhagen for about 10 years, came here on holiday and met the man that's now my husband, and that was it. So my background is all over the place, really. I came into art very early in my life. My mom was an artist and I grew up steeped in that world, but ended up going into marketing, into tourism marketing to start with as my career. I did that for about 10 years. And then I became an illustrator and I did commercial art. And from there, that kind of led into doing a lot more marketing work. I was doing a lot of strategic thinking behind that. And also coinciding with me getting my diagnosis in my mid-30s and discovering that I wasn't just a broken human. I was actually like doing really well as a neurodivergent person.
Yeah.
I know you've probably had that moment as well where you're like, oh, everything falls into place.
Like, holy shit, this is a real thing. Other people work like I do. That's crazy.
Amazing. Yeah, it was such a revelation. And that kind of led me, I was really struggling with the illustration. I was struggling with being creative to somebody else's specifications. I wanted to be a free spirit, really. I wanted to be able to do what I wanted to do. So I moved from there into helping other neurodivergent people and introverts and sensitive people with their marketing strategy. So I went back to my roots a little bit. And that brings us to here. That's been my trajectory.
Oh, I love that so much. There's so much I want to dive into. First, I would love to know a little bit more about your diagnosis journey. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like why you sought the diagnosis, what that looked like, and what did you do with it afterwards?
Yeah, that was a really interesting period. It came about, I'd been struggling with a lot of sensory issues. And I mean, I've always been like sensitive. The highly sensitive person, I think, is a gateway for a lot of people into discovering that they're neurodivergent. Before it was, society was aware that adult women could have ADHD. A lot of us labeled ourselves as introverted or highly sensitive or that kind of thing. And sensory issues has always been something that I've really struggled with. And I remember going for a walk with my husband, and it was a sunny, windy day. And we went for a walk in the botanical gardens here in Copenhagen. And I just had a complete meltdown. Like there was too many people. It was too hot. It was too bright. The wind was going out all over the place. And he sat me down in a quiet corner on a bench. He gave me his hoodie and I had the hood up, and it was just like, and I was relaying this to a friend afterwards, and I was like, oh my God, it's like I'm autistic or something. And she was like, well, you could be, right? And I was like, what? That's new. I'm intelligent and I'm a bit wonky, but I can function and I can do all of these things and I run a business. And she was like, yeah, you still could. So I went to speak to my stepmother, she's retired now, but she used to be a social worker. She also has an autistic daughter. She's much kind of higher support needs than I am. And I said to her, I think maybe there's something going on here. And she was like, I've been waiting for 20 years for you to come to me with this.
Stop.
And I was like, what, you couldn't have said?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it was like, I didn't want to interfere. I didn't want to like put labels on you or anything. But she said, I've had my suspicions. She was amazing because I went through the diagnosis process in Denmark and I don't speak Danish. So she's Danish. My dad's Danish, which is why I'm here. She took me through that whole diagnostic process with my GP and then to the psychiatrist. And I think it took 2 sessions with the psychiatrist. And he was like, yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely. And I think you might have ADHD as well. Wow. And that was that. And I know this story is going to be so familiar for you and a lot of your listeners. Like, it was such an emotional roller coaster after that of just being like, oh my God, this is amazing. Now all of my life makes sense. And also, I'm so angry that no one picked this up before. Like, how different could my life have been? Like, all the opportunities that could have happened for me if I'd had this crucial piece of information, things I would have done differently, which of course is futile,
Sure.
but I think we all go through that process, right?
Mm-hmm.
And trying to figure out what parts of me are my personality and what parts of me are this kind of diagnosis. And it took about 6 months when I was like, oh no, this is just all who I am.
Yeah.
Like, and now I have this. A roadmap is not quite the right word, but I have this frame of reference for moving through my life now, which means that it makes a lot more sense.
Oh, I resonated with so much of your story. And it's funny because I have tears in my eyes just thinking about it. I had so many sensory issues growing up, and I haven't looked into autism myself just because I've embraced the ADHD journey. But there are so many things that make sense. This morning, my daughter, who's 5, has so many sensory issues, and she wanted me to make her sneakers match. Like, they had to be tied the same, and they had to be like tightened the same. And when they don't match, she describes the feeling as her neck being tickly back here. So she talks about what that feels like. She's so angry. And so I was sitting there and I'm like, okay, she needs me to stay calm in this moment. And I breathe through it because I think initially my reaction is, I can't make it make sense, right? And she needs me to just be there to support her. But it's so fascinating, the world that we live in now, because I am able to show up as a mom who understands what she's going through instead of as a mom who feels so disconnected because I can't possibly begin to understand what she's going through. I'm actually taking a parenting class right now on neurodivergent parents and neurodivergent kids. And it's
fascinating.
I have chills, like, just thinking about it, just because I feel seen for the first time ever. But I just, your walk in the park, like, what a real thing that could happen. And I like laughed when you were like I'm autistic or something. It's like, maybe.
Yeah.
really, maybe that could be the case. I never even once considered that I could be neurodivergent. Like in college when I was
No.
struggling, I thought I didn't fit in. I thought I was just like outside
Yeah.
of the box. Now I am. I'm outside of the box. Yes. None of us can be put into a box. Okay. But now you're in your art era and you're back into it. You're surrounded by color.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about the work that you do with art and how that can impact someone with ADHD, autism, anyone in the neurospicy world.
Let's take a quick break.
If you're enjoying this episode, I have a quick favor to ask. Could you take just a minute to leave a review? I know. Every podcast asks, but here's the deal. Your review helps other ADHD brains like ours find this show. Plus, reading them seriously makes my day. So if something in this episode has helped you, made you laugh, or even made you feel seen, let me know by leaving a quick review. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you more than you know. Now, back to the episode.
Yeah, this has been a really interesting kind of journey to take. And I didn't really realize it myself. I mean, I was making the art that I was making, and all of my work really is about sort of describing in a visual way what it feels like to be me. I use a lot of kind of symbolism and personal mythology, and it's all basically trying to communicate this is what it feels like to be this in the world. And it took me a long time because I was like, this feels really self-indulgent, and it feels like, why is anybody else going to care about the stuff that I'm doing? Until I realized that the people who were connecting with my work and the people who were buying my work and the people who were showing up in my world were all also people like me.
Yeah.
And they were seeing the work and they were hearing the stories that I was telling and they were seeing themselves in it. And I thought, that's wonderful. It's absolutely fascinating. And I'm so happy that it happens. But I just thought, okay, let's look deeper into this. Like, what is art actually like doing for us, particularly as neurodivergent people? And I started looking into the science behind particularly colorful, vibrant work. You can see behind me if you're watching the video of this. My work is very colorful. It's very vibrant. And what that does is it actually has an impact on our brain chemistry. So when you look at a colorful piece of art, it increases your dopamine levels, which of course we ADHDers are always hungry for dopamine.
We are.
But it also increases your serotonin levels. It reduces your cortisol levels. It basically gives you the same sort of pleasure hormones that food and sex and the other kind of things that we need in our lives give you. And what that means is that it can be a real tool for helping you regulate your emotional state. And what people were telling me about how they experienced my work was confirming this kind of scientific research that I had looked into. So I have a collector of mine who's also a very dear friend, has a little piece of mine on her desk. And she says, it anchors me whenever I need to go and do something scary. If I need to send a scary email or present something at work, she says, I can look at that and it focuses my attention and it makes me feel like I can do anything. I just think that is absolutely glorious. Like, art is so powerful. It has this incredible ability to affect us in ways that I don't think most of us are aware of on a daily basis.
As you were talking, I'm thinking, so you can see in the background here, I've got my sound tiles on the wall, but I bought these pink pillows because
I noticed those. They're gorgeous.
Thank you. But it was funny because I would walk in here and it's blue and then the wall is blue, but I needed more color. And then, so then I have some orange, some pops of orange. I've noticed in my life as I've decluttered, because the clutter was distracting me. I wasn't filling up my life with any of the things I wanted. I was filling up my life with all of these things I thought I needed to prepare for literally anything that could happen. And so then I was so distracted and so overwhelmed that I wasn't focusing on any of the things that I wanted. So like this blue wall, I'd love to paint it one day and have some more vibrancy. But I just recently painted my living room green. I have like a turquoise wall in my bedroom with an orange comforter. But it's funny because
wow.
as I have embraced my neurodivergency, I have noticed more and more color showing up in my life, not only in my home as I've decluttered, but in my closet. Like orange is one of my favorite colors to wear. I love it. It makes me feel so happy and it brings so much joy to my life. So what does your home look like with all of this color?
It's very colorful. I'm incredibly fortunate that my husband loves my artwork and he loves what I do with the home. But we have color everywhere. There's something about when you start to bring beautiful, important objects into your home, not the clutter, not the kind of just in case stuff, but something that you have deliberately chosen and brought into your home. It has this sort of lighting the touch paper effect. And it's like the influence spreads. It's like magic. So like you say, it starts with a pink pillow and then all of a sudden it's a turquoise wall and an orange comforter and a wardrobe full of delicious, colorful, glorious. And I've always been in love with color. It's always been something that's been very dear to my heart. And one of the ways that my autism shows up is that I have a very strong kind of relationship with objects. It's like an anthropomorphization of objects, like I feel for them. I imbue them with personalities. I give them like feelings, which makes sense if it's a work of art or something like that. But it makes less sense when it's like an old pair of contact lenses that you feel bad about throwing away.
Yeah, no, I feel that. It's so interesting, the attachment that we create with objects too. I had these canvas prints of pictures that I had made for my daughters when they were babies. And I didn't want to hang them in our house anymore. But the other option would be to store them. But for what? Because I'm never going to hang them up again. I just have them. But for me to let them go, it was very hard. It was so hard for me to let them go. I was almost going to cut them up and then store them even smaller. And then my husband's like, the pictures aren't going anywhere, right? Like you still have them. And so I'm like, I know, I'm the organizer. I'm the one who teaches people how to let go.
So hard. It really is. And sometimes we do need someone else to come in and say, it's okay. You can let this go. It's not going to come in handy. You're not going to need it.
Yeah.
You have memories not going anywhere. Yeah. It's really difficult.
The way that you describe your artwork and living with color, it reminds me of a minimalist versus a maximalist. Have you heard that term, the maximalist?
Yes, I'm very much a maximalist.
And I love it because it's not, I think people sometimes think like minimalism, okay, that's like having the least amount of stuff. It's clean, it's white, it's creams and very non-colorful. Whereas maximalism is you still don't have a lot, but you're so purposeful about all of the things that you have and what it is and how it brings joy to your life, which I'm all about. I think that's such a cool way to live. Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think people who are hardcore minimalists look at maximalism and just see like colorful chaos and clutter and, oh my God, it's so much, I don't know where to put my eyes. But I've always found that to be far more soothing. I feel wrong in empty spaces. Like it makes me sad to be in an empty white room or to be in a tasteful beige space where there's nothing to look at. And I think maybe that's something to do with ADHD. Like my brain needs that stimulation. It needs the inputs because otherwise I get understimulated and that's almost as bad as being overstimulated, But maximalism, if you speak to somebody who identifies as a maximalist, it really is about this careful curation of joy, really, and objects that have meaning and objects that bring joy and these reminders of self, reminders of identity, reminders of who you are, who you want to be, who you have been. It's joyous because everywhere you look, there's something that's just affirming who you are.
It reminds me of this project I did with one of my favorite clients. And we had put all of her rocks in one place because she had a rock collection. And then we put all of these she had these candlestick holders that were neon, but she had bought black lights so that they could shine. And we had taken all of the stuff that brought her so much joy and we put it to the side so that once we let go of all the clutter, we could actually put this stuff up. And that was my favorite part. We were able to decorate her living room, which when I first came in, she couldn't even walk in and she wouldn't spend time in there because it was just full of stuff. But I remember walking into her bedroom and her bedroom was full of color. And I brought it to her attention. I'm like, do you realize how colorful your bedroom is and how that's the room you spend all of your time in? She goes, oh, you're right. You're so right. So anyways, we decorated her living room. We put up these paintings and she had a story for each one. We put up her plants and she had these really cool things we could weave her plants into. We set up lights around her rock collection so that they could light up.
Oh.
And we set up her black lights so her glowing candlesticks could shine. But it was all organized. It was all decluttered, but it was all lighting up these essential aspects of her life that she wanted to keep and to look at that could bring her joy. And it was fascinating. It was one of the coolest things I've ever done. It was just so neat to be able to bring a space to life with someone's character and livelihood very apparent instead of just decorating and putting things together.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's the stories. Our lives are made up of stories. And we externalize those stories in some ways. We have these things, these items, these works of art or candlesticks or a rock collection or something that speak to those stories that make up who we are.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing about what you do?
Oh, to be honest, I love the whole process. I love being in that kind of conceptual stage where I'm coming up with ideas and figuring out how I'm going to represent an idea visually and put that together. I love the process of actually making the work. Like the physicality of it is really like stimming for me, actually painting or paper cutting or whatever it is I'm working with. And then I don't consider the art complete unless I've shared it with the world. Like it really is the final step in the process for me. And then finding the people who connect with it. It's just magical having people come back to me and say, I see myself in this. I see my story in this. And the thing that I really love is that more often than not, they're not seeing the thing that I've put into the work or the thing that I have said that the work is about. They're telling it from their perspective. They're saying what they see in the work. Art is a purely subjective thing. Something that means the world to one person is going to leave somebody else completely cold. But also in terms of what the artist means and what the viewer gets can also be a completely different conversation. And I think that's so exciting. It's like Telephone or something. That game you used to play when you were a kid. So I could say, I made this because of this, and this is what it means to me. And someone else can come back and say, oh, but I see this in it, and there's this going on, and there's that happening. And I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. I didn't even know that was there, and yet you found it. Isn't that? So I just love it. I think the whole process from beginning to end is magical. And I'm so grateful that I get to do this.
That's so impressive. And so can people come to you and say, these are the colors I'm looking for. Can you create me something like this?
I don't generally do commissions unless it's a very kind of special occasion. Yeah. I'm much more driven by what's inside me and finding the people who resonate with that rather than making stuff that resonates. The thing that made me leave the illustration work was that kind of, can you make it like this? And can you make this more blue? And can you like move everything to the left? And I don't want to make art like that. I want to have these kind of wild love affairs with my materials and just see what comes out.
Yeah.
And then for people to go, oh my God, yes, me too. Like it's that me too moment that is really the reason why I create.
I can't tell you how relieved I am to hear you say that, because so much of us try to hear what other people need from us and conform, but you've shown the world what you can do and you say, here it is, take it or leave it.
A big part of that was getting that diagnosis and realizing that, oh, I can't do things the way everybody else does. Like I'm never going to be neurotypical. I'm never going to be able to cram myself into that box and fit into what other people want me to be. So I may as well just be the best version of me that I can be.
That's beautiful. And so do you have your own studio at home?
Yeah. This is what I'm sitting in at the
Oh,
moment.
wow.
I've just cleaned it
I
down.
was just going to
'cause
say,
I'm,
it's so
between
clean. That
projects.
can't be your suit.
You should have seen it yesterday. It was piled high with stuff and you couldn't see the tables.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I'm just about to embark on a new collection. And when I go into something new and I'm in the planning stages, I can't have other stuff going on. I can't have the detritus of kind of what went before. Everything that's in progress gets cleared away. And I'm like, okay, white space. Where do we go from here? When I'm working, it's chaos and it's glorious and I love it. But when I'm starting something new, it has to be pristine, scrub the tables. It's like a ritualistic thing, you know?
Ooh, I love that. Now, I was just going to ask too, because you're a painter, but you also mentioned paper crafting. How many mediums do you work with?
I work with whatever seems right for the project that I'm trying to do. So most of the time I'm a painter, but I did start doing some kind of 3-dimensional collage work. I have a whole collection, which is 3-dimensional collage pieces. And that's because I wanted to use googly eyes and it seemed like the most organic way. It's a collection. It's called I Feel Your Eyes on Me Like Beetles.
Oh my gosh.
And it's a collection about that feeling when you walk into a room full of strangers for the first time and everybody turns to look at you. Or when you're feeling very sensitive and you're walking down the street and you feel really exposed and I can feel people's eyes on you. And it speaks very much to that experience of not wanting to be perceived, which is common for a lot of neurodivergent people. And it can be irritating, itchy, almost painful just to be perceived. So it's a playful take on that with lots of beetles and eyes and done in this kind of 3-dimensional collage thing.
As you're talking, my brain is just like, oh my gosh, I could totally relate to that. And even starting this podcast felt really brave because I am me and I'm putting me out there. But the way that my brain works is I'm like, oh, but what if people see me this way? Because I think of one thing that I've said and I'm like, they could see me this way. And I have this whole brain train that takes me on this ride into despair. Oh my gosh. Wow.
This is what I mean. Like, I create the things that speak to these experiences that I have. And I never really expected anybody else to connect with them because I think when you are late diagnosed, you are so used to feeling like the odd one out wherever you go. It seems almost impossible that any experience you could have is something that other people could relate to. So putting it out there and having that Me Too moment, like that's everything for me.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. That's so cool. And so when you're starting a project, and I love that ritual that you have, how do you possibly stay organized with all of the mediums that you work with? And what does that look like? Or do you need me to fly to Copenhagen to support you? Because I will. If you need me to, I will. I'll do this.
I think I'm incredibly fortunate in a weird way because I also have the autism.
Yeah.
So as well as the ADHD kind of crazy brain bouncing all over the place, which is glorious for creativity, I also have the autism, which is very much, okay, this is too crazy. Let's build a system around it. It's funny because my husband has ADHD, is also autistic. And he was like, before we moved in together, we only moved in together a year ago. We've been together for nearly 10 years. We only moved in together a year ago. But before we moved in together, he's like, I don't think you have ADHD in the same way that I do. You don't have this kind of, you're not disorganized. You're not late for stuff. You always show up. You're always like, you're running a business and all the rest of it. And then when we moved in together and all of my routines were suddenly taken away from me because I'd moved into a new house and I'd moved in with him and everything was different. He was like, oh, I see it's the same, but I have like elaborate scaffolding around my life that means that I'm actually able to do that. So I'm very fortunate in that way that I have that part of my brain that it just helps structure things. So I can do the kind of the crazy creative brain bouncing within a nicely contained framework.
I love that so much because it's like the people that I talk to that have never been diagnosed, but are like, I'm a little ADHD curious now. They've developed these systems over their life to make it work for them, which is exactly what you have to do in order to live a more peaceful life. I don't want to say that it's better or I don't know, like when I keep a schedule now pretty because I have to. It's all in there. And I can go in there and I can say, what can I let go of? What's something that I can move around? Absolutely. But I used to not have a schedule and I used to keep it all up here. And then I used to beat myself up because I didn't have it written down. But then I would forget about things and I would shame myself into thinking that I just wasn't good enough. I wasn't a good enough human to survive in this world. Then we have digital calendars all over the place. So it's just literally accepting that my brain's not going to keep anything up there. So if something's important to me, all I have to do is put it down and then have it remind me that things are going to happen in life. And then I'm like, oh, I'll do these things now. But I love that you have the scaffolding around you so that you can build these worlds in your art and in your life so that you can impact others in the way that you do. And that's such a beautiful way of saying that. And it's funny too, because your husband saying, oh, I don't really think you have ADHD. Sometimes I check in with myself. Do I really have ADHD? And then like literally 10 minutes later, I'm like, oh, I do. I still have it. Like it's all those still there. I'm still, yup.
Thought usually comes just before you do or say something that's so ADHD, so autistic. Oh, yeah. No.
Oh my gosh, this is so funny. I'm so glad I'm not alone in that because I'm like, I'm cured. I did it.
Hey, what are you talking about?
It's like I've gaslit myself into thinking. It's just great. It's just great.
Oh, it's funny.
That's amazing. Oh, this is so cool. Okay. I love that you live in Copenhagen too, because Denmark is where they have those like incredibly colorful houses, like one right next to the other. I've never been to Denmark, but I'd love to go one day. That sounds absolutely amazing.
You should come visit.
Yeah. I've decided that if I ever live in Europe anywhere, I will develop an accent of some sort. Like it's just, that's what happens. If I hung out with you every day, I would speak to you in an English accent. I'm a little posh, a little cockney. That's what I've been told. But that's because I watched a lot of My Fair Lady as a child. And
my husband does it. My husband's Danish, and sometimes I hear my very British kind of words and phrases coming out of his mouth, and it's hilarious.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
It's so funny.
When I'm trying to get my daughters to do something, I'll sometimes use a Southern accent to get them to move. So how do people work with you if they wanted to purchase a piece of art? And how do we follow you? How do we see this art on a regular basis, even if we're not ready to purchase right away?
The best thing to do is to come to my website, which is eleanortrierstudio.com. and sign up for my newsletter. I send out a weekly newsletter, which is a whole mad mishmash of the weird and wonderful. So I pick a theme each week, which could be anything that takes my fancy. So we had one recently on emotional regulation. Ooh. We did one on kind of the neurodivergent approach to getting dressed. Ooh. We had one on the power of doing things your own way, on beauty. And I keep you updated on what's going on in the studio and stuff as well. But I like to think it's just like a little reminder that you're not alone in feeling the way you do. I try and collect stories of misfits and weirdos and people who don't conform and share those stories. So the best thing to do is to come on that list, and then you'll be the first to know whenever I release a new collection. I have a selection of work on my website, but I usually release a collection kind of 3 or 4 times a year. And you can also follow me on YouTube and also on Instagram as well. I'm Eleanor Trier Studio on Instagram and Zuzu's House of Cats on YouTube.
Do you have cats?
I don't at the moment, but I've always had cats. Right now we are sans cats, which is a shame. Oh. But cats are hugely symbolic for me. I heard once somebody say that all cats are autistic, and having grown up with cats and being a cat owner for a long time, yeah, absolutely.
Oh
that explains cats completely.
That's hilarious. I've never heard that, but that is immediately clicking in my brain. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah, they'd become a symbol of my neurodivergence.
For anyone listening out there who's just found out they have ADHD, or maybe they're neurospicy curious, right? And they are thinking they could be on the spectrum, they could have autism. What's your advice for them?
I think is to be around other people who have ADHD, who have autism, who have the things that you feel that you resonate with. There's a lot of amazing information out there, like lived experience information from people on social media these days, which I never had when I was younger. I grew up way before social media. I'm astonished to see how much incredible information is out there. And if it really starts clicking with you, then you can go down the route of looking for a diagnosis, but it's also completely valid if you don't want to, if you just want to self-diagnose and use that information to live your life in a more accepting way. Because really it's about understanding how you work and giving yourself grace to make the accommodations that you need. And being able to communicate that to other people. I think that's been the biggest thing. And you can do that with a formal diagnosis or without one. Like, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, I love that. I did an episode on that. It's okay if you don't get diagnosed, but accept some of these things about you. When you accept it, you get to learn how to live in a way that makes sense for you. And
yes, exactly.
It's just different, which is really cool. Some people describe ADHD as a superpower or being neurodivergent. And I know that's gotten a lot of negative press out there. I think it's hard because there's a lot of negatives that come along with our neurodivergent brains. There's a lot of things that we have to deal with that people who are neurotypical will never understand. But there are some super powerful aspects of it. And I'm curious what your perspective is on what is super powerful about you and who you are.
That's a really good question. And I think it's a bit patronizing to be like, oh, ADHD is a superpower. Aren't you lucky? And yeah, that would be great if the world was built for people with neurodivergence.
Yeah.
But it isn't. We have to live in a neurotypical world. A lot of us find that incredibly difficult. It is a disability. It is disabling a lot of the time. But we are creative like nobody else. We join the dots in new and interesting and unusual ways. I think if you go back through history and you read about all the people who have made major discoveries throughout our history, I can guarantee that they're all described as not a people person or a little bit weird or all the things that you're like, oh, yeah, this sounds like diagnostic criterion. And the person who invented fire was some autistic person in the woods rubbing sticks together because it felt nice, The neurotypical person doing that. So I think that creativity and that kind of pure innovation that comes from being other in a world that is very linear, I think that is absolutely incredible. I think we are some of the most, I say we, I'm including myself in this very much. I think we're some of the most compassionate people. I think anyone who has had to struggle with the sorts of things that we struggle with, it makes you give other people the benefit of the doubt so much more. We're so much more accepting of people's differences, of people's disabilities, of people not behaving in the way that we expect.
Yeah.
We're much more open to that and willing to see people in the best possible light. And I think that's a real gift, particularly in today's world. I think we're just great. The people I know who have ADHD, who have, neurodivergence, I think they're a really awesome bunch of people.
Yeah.
Not to refer to us as a monolith or anything. Obviously, we're all different.
Right.
But I think on the whole, we're fantastic. And I think if more accommodations were made for us, we would have so much more to contribute. It's not just about the disability part. Sometimes we just need people to understand how we work and then have so much to contribute.
Oh my gosh. The way that you phrased that, so beautiful. Just, I love it so much. And the world's not built for us. Obviously, it's not a superpower. And look how fucking cool we are. So
Exactly, right?
Yeah, it's like both of those things can be true at the same time. And yeah, what a cool way of putting that. Thank you so much. That's really awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ali, it has been such a pleasure interviewing you. You are a light all the way across the world. Thank you for coming here and sharing your light and your color with us. I can't thank you enough. It's a pleasure to know you, and I can't wait to follow you more.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. This has been such a delightful conversation.
Yeah, right back at you. Wasn't that episode awesome? I love Ellie. I want to go move to Copenhagen now and live in one of those row homes. It also reminds me how I keep looking in my backyard and I see these red leaves hanging off of my maple trees. And I still have these purple flowers that are blooming in my backyard and these different flowers that are red and yellow and orange. And it brings me so much joy. The grass is still pretty green. And so even though it was raining this morning and the winds were howling like crazy, it brought me so much joy to look outside and see all of this incredible color around. And after talking to Ellie, I'm like, wow, I do desire color in my life. We just painted our living room green, which is hilarious because we have a blue couch. Don't get me started. There's a lot that went into the decision that we made here. But as I look at this green wall now, it brings me so much joy. Got a plant that sits next to it. It's almost like there's vibration in the color, and it brings my brain so much happiness when I look at it. Also, how about when Ellie was talking about cats being autistic? Like, how true is that? I think after the interview with her, I probably shared that with at least 10 to 15 people that cats are autistic. And I'm like, how much sense does that make? It's so real. Something else I love about Ellie is that when she's doing her art now, she thinks about what she wants and she puts it on paper. Oftentimes, and especially in the corporate world or when we're working for someone else, we have to so often change what we are, who we are, and what we do to fit into someone else's box. And when we realize that we don't necessarily fit into other people's boxes, and when we start to do things for ourselves and not for others, that's when we really can show up for others even more because we're showing up as our true, authentic selves. I hope that you go follow Ellie. She is absolutely incredible. I can't wait to see what else she has available as far as her artwork. And maybe you start creating your own artwork yourself, dabble in some color, see how that elevates your life. One thing that I hold true to myself, one thing that I wake up for every single day is as I've learned to believe in myself, I want to help other people believe in themselves too.
Thanks so much for listening to Organizing an ADHD Brain. Just remember, I am not a doctor or a mental health professional. Everything I share here comes from my own lived experiences or my professional experience coaching other ADHD humans. If you need medical or mental health advice, please reach out to a licensed medical professional. What you hear on this podcast is for support and education, and how you use the information is completely up to you. For more resources, free downloads, and different ways to work with me, whether through coaching or the community, please go to organizinganadhdbrain.com. And don't forget, the perfect place to start is right where you are.